The Civil War was a series of battles that were fought due to the rising tensions between the North and the South. The war waged following the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, though the tide of the war was fought from 1861 to 1865. Over the course of about 7 months, the states South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee all seceded from the Union in that order. These states formed the Confederate States of America. While Abraham Lincoln was against the expansion of slavery into new territories, his first inaugural address stated that he didn't want to interfere with slavery where it had already existed. This reflects upon Lincoln's early goals of the Civil War, which was to simply preserve and protect the Union. This will eventually change as certain events progress, but this doesn't come until later. The first shots of the Civil War were fired at Fort Sumter, a Confederate victory by General P.G.T. Beauregard. Following this was the Battle of First Bull Run, a failed attempt by the Union to take the capital of Virginia. These were two big losses for the Union. However, the Union would soon see their first victories. Following these defeats comes the biggest turning point in the Civil War, but also quite possibly the deadliest. September 17, 1862, the bloody stay in the Civil War with an estimated 23,000 total casualties. This was the Battle of Antietam, the turning point in the Civil War. At this point, Lincoln had been itching to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The problem was, he didn't have a real win at this point, and therefore didn't want to look desperate by ordering the emancipation while he was losing. Even though the results of Antietam were a bit controversial, Lincoln finally found his window of opportunity to issue the proclamation. Before Antietam, the Union's purpose in the Civil War was to preserve the Union. The purpose of the Union after Antietam, due to the Emancipation Proclamation, is now to abolish slavery. Under the Emancipation Proclamation, slaves in the southern states were freed, while slaves in the northern states were not. There are two main reasons why Lincoln does this. Number one, Lincoln believed in gradual emancipation, meaning that he didn't think it would be a good idea to free the slaves all at once. Number two, he also only freed the slaves in the South as a tactical advantage. Naval blockades were not proving to be successful, but if he can destroy the Southern economy by freeing slaves, which the South relies on, then he can force them back into the Union. Following several more Union victories, specifically those conducted under General Grant, is Lincoln's re-election in 1864. We can easily see the change in the Union's attitude and purpose of the Union in Lincoln's second inaugural address. This is drastically different from his first inaugural address because now Lincoln wants to basically destroy the South and rebuild it in Republican image. Again, this reflects on the changes the Emancipation Proclamation caused for the purpose of the Union. The Civil War ended on April 9, 1865, following Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. Unfortunately, 5 days later, on April 14th, President Lincoln would be assassinated by John Wilkes Booth while watching a play. The biggest effects from the Civil War, however, were 3 amendments that worked to grant equal protection under the Constitution. These were the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments. The 13th Amendment put an end to slavery. The 14th Amendment granted equal protection under the law regardless of race. And the 15th Amendment granted African American men the right to vote. The historical, unforgettable events of the Civil War will have forever changed the attitude of the United States regarding slavery and gave America a push towards a brighter future.